Folks, yes, I actually read the comments on the videos, and when there are great questions, I share them with my guest. We're going to talk about one such question or comment we got last week from the one and only Taylor from Life Goal Investments. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking. Let's do this. Let's get to the people's questions. That's what's most important.
Yes, folks, if you have questions you've always want to ask Taylor, leave them below. I'm the only person that goes through my comments, and if it's a great question, I will send it to him ahead of time, just like this video. So, Taylor, last week I texted you a screenshot of a comment from a viewer saying, hey, when Taylor says the market says this, what
Yep.
does that all mean? What's he looking at? So break it down for us.
Yeah. So what we were talking about there were Fed funds futures. So essentially what we're asking, or what the person is talking about, is when I say the market is pricing in 4 rate cuts next year, which is legitimately what's playing out in the market right now. The market is pricing in
Wow.
4 separate interest rate cuts out of the Fed, right? Wow is the right thing to say there, by the way. But how do they discern that? Where does that come from? So what that is a direct calculation based off of futures that are being bought on US Treasuries.
Hmm.
So a big institution sets their view on where interest rates are going, and the Fed is going with interest rate hikes or cuts based on the futures contracts they buy on US Treasuries. And based on this way, they back into an assumption based on a law of large numbers. If XYZ people are betting a certain position of the US Treasury next year in their future contracts, that means their belief is that the Fed is going to raise rates or conversely cut rates. So essentially, what the market is showing right now is that via the futures purchases they place on US Treasuries, is that there will be 4 rate cuts playing out in 2024. And it was 5. So we just took 1 rate cut off the table for
Okay.
next year based on, again, these futures options or futures options contracts that big institutional money managers are buying.
So we're sitting today at 5.25 to 5.5. So they're saying, again, the market, Fed funds
Yep.
futures are going to say we're at 4.25 sometime next year, by the end of the year, I
Correct.
guess.
At the end of next year, by December, interest rates will be 100 basis points or 1 full percentage point beneath where they are right now.
What is the market? I'm just curious saying about the end of this year. Are they pricing in one more rate hike? Zero, two? What is the
Zero,
market saying?
zero rate hikes. Zero
Okay,
rate
so they're
hikes
saying
this
the
year.
Fed's done.
The Fed is done, right? And the Fed is not saying the Fed is done, right?
no, no, this is what we kind of talked about last week. It seems like the market is placing two bets and they both can't be right. So talk about that.
Correct. Yeah. So last week we talked about 2 things. We talked about where earnings are going in the future. So what this gets derived from are they take the broad analysts, the experts on Wall Street, their street opinions as to where earnings will be 12 months out from now, or whatever the time frame they're looking at. They do it in different increments. So in 2024, the average analyst is expecting the S&P as a whole, all 500 companies, to grow their earnings at 12.2%. 12.2, which is obviously an incredible number. And that shows that there's optimism around what the economy is going to do, because if the economy isn't strong, obviously you can't produce 12.2% earnings in the 500 largest companies that make up that economy. So that's a strong economy opinion right there. On the other side of the coin, we just talked about the fact that the market is anticipating 4, it was 5, it's just come up a little bit to -4 interest rate cuts next year. The Fed doesn't cut interest rates in a strong economy. A strong economy drives inflation higher. That is the biggest thing they're concerned with right now. So how do you mark those 2 things against each other, where one is saying 12.2% earnings growth is a massive number and has to have strength behind the economy in order to push that sale to 12.2%? And on the other side, you're saying, yeah, but the Fed's going to cut interest rates. It's like saying, I'm a 4-year-old kid. I have a daughter upstairs who's about to turn 4, and we're about to have a birthday. She wants her cake and eating it too. Right. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what the market is pricing right now.
Yeah, and I didn't prep you for this, but we're going to pivot here. Obviously, you know that Jerome Powell speaks Friday at what's called the
Yep.
Jackson Hole Summit or party or get together, rah rah boondoggle.
Symposium, I think, is what they technically call it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a boondoggle, but that's okay, whatever.
Oh, for sure.
No doubt. Uh, Last year, he had a full-on speech prepared that he threw away, if you believe the story, the night before, then created his 8-minute speech, basically saying, "Hey, rich guys, I'm going to kick you in the nuts." Basically, more pain
Yep.
coming.
Yep.
What do you kind of anticipate this time? It's more of a you know, the inflation battle is not over. We got to remain vigilant. Yes, we understand what's going on in banking. Yes, commercial real estate, but you know, kind of not my problem. Is that kind of what we're
Yep.
going to get, you think?
Yeah, and to be clear, he torched the market last year in
Oh, we
August.
did.
You remember we had October lows, and it was you know, a derivative of exactly what he said in Jackson Hole that absolutely launched the market downwards. And so I think what he's going to say this year is I don't think he necessarily wants to do that. He probably learned a little bit of a lesson there. Now, he may think in his own right that the stock market is overinflated right now. And to be clear, what that does on the inflationary battle on the other side is it has what we all know as the wealth effect.
Yeah.
So as stock prices go up and we all own stocks, or at least the wealthy own stocks, that makes them feel richer, makes them more likely to buy a new house, a new car, go on vacation, what have you. So there is a wealth effect that probably is a little bit in his crosshairs, if you will. And
Yep.
so on one side, he's going to try to say, like, I don't want to necessarily bomb out the economy or bomb out the stock market with some really nasty rhetoric about inflation's not done. We're very likely to take interest rates higher, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to go back to the old data dependent conversation. But I think he's going to be very clear in the fact that the economy right now is pretty darn strong. And that is absolutely a cause for caution for where inflation goes in the future.
Oh, he
Because
has
if
to
the
be.
economy could, yeah, economy continues in the direction that it is, and we can discuss a little bit of this if you want, but the St. Louis Fed, I'm sorry, the Atlanta Fed, their
Yeah, did you
GDP
see
estimate
that?
is absurd.
5.8?
It's absurd. It's absurd. The last time we had 5.8% interest rate, or I'm sorry, 5.8% economic growth, it was again in a booming type economy. And so if we get that, that is going to be more people getting hired, more people getting paid. As we've talked ad nauseum about this, wages drive inflation. Stop the conversation right there. Yes, we can parse out inflation in 92 different ways and talk about used cars and their effect and shelter and their effect. At the end of the day, the amount of money in people's pockets are what drives inflation, and what puts money in their pockets are jobs. And if wage inflation continues to be an issue, that's going to drive inflation at the end of the day.
Yeah, GDP Now is a site most people should go to. Check it out.
Yep.
5.8. Historically,
Yep.
a very accurate. Give them credit. Also, if you watch it, it's not really a forecast. It's a current computation on now.
Correct.
So what usually
and to
happens
be very clear on this, because I posted something on this and I got a lot of feedback of like, yeah, that's one person's opinion or that's one group's opinion. It's not opinion. It's
it's
quant
not.
based. It's
Yeah.
numbers based. But to
Yeah.
be clear, we're still 43 days left in this quarter, and we just got a really good housing start number that drove it higher to where it
And
is
retail
now.
sales was higher
And retail sales, yep, 100%. But housing went from a negative
to a positive. Yeah.
effect on the number to being a positive. And so reality also is, and this is, I read something on this in Barron's this weekend, that most times what happens with the GDP now number out of the Atlanta Fed is it starts high and walks back.
It rolls over. Yeah.
Um, I
That's
mean,
about
like,
6 weeks out usually is its peak. But
yep.
let's be clear, it's not going negative in 6 weeks.
Oh,
It's
correct. No.
not going
No.
negative.
No, we are not in a recession. Like as much as economists and even I think you and I don't want to put
Yeah.
words in your mouth, but I think a year
Yeah.
ago we probably both would have said we are going to be in a modest recession right now, and we're
Absolutely.
not.
No,
Yeah.
no question. Yeah, I got burned by my Q2 call. I haven't yet made another call when that might happen, but it ain't Q3. That is
No,
for
it's not.
sure.
No, it's not. And as things run hotter, to be clear, that is a little bit more of a concerning topic because when the recession comes, it could be a little nastier because if the economy runs
Yeah.
hot, the Fed is going to have to continue to jack up rates, which causes pressures in areas like banking and other places that we're seeing them. And if rates go meaningfully higher from where they're at right now, I read something in Barron's this article that talked about Fed funds at 6 to 6.5.
Oh,
Yeah. 200 basis points from where they are right now. That's
can
8
you?
rate hikes. We're pricing in 4 rate cuts.
Well, we're going to talk about that in episode number 2. We're going to talk about rates. We're going to probably lead off with 8 rate hikes versus 4 rate cuts because I think higher rates will eventually break something. And let's be clear: if GDP comes in at 4% or greater, Powell's going higher. He just
I
has to.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Taylor,
agree.
where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Michael. Find us at Life Goal Investments. We're on both Instagram and TikTok, having fun every day, trying to teach.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Thanks, buddy. Take care.